today. All right, welcome everybody to the, I guess week 15, week 16 already. We're almost at the end of the regular season edition of Under the Dome. One game left, one victory left, really. One victory left. If we win Sunday, or I should say, when we win on Sunday, we will lock up first seed in the playoffs. The road to the Super Bowl goes through New Orleans. And I'll be honest with you, right behind winning the division, this is the next goal in life. Not Breeze getting the MVP. The next goal is to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. I know you guys all have heard the numbers. The Saints are 5-0 at home in the playoffs. They're 1-5 on the road. Having that first seed, having that first round bye, is beneficial because you only have to play 2 games to go to the Super Bowl, win 2 of them, as opposed to winning 3, which you do with the wild card round. So I know we'll talk a little bit about the Saints' struggles on offense and how people are panicking now, thinking we'll probably be one and done if we keep playing the way we're playing. But at the same time, if you want to be a half full guy, we finally have a defense. You've been waiting. You guys have been saying that you'd be willing to sacrifice a little offense to get a defense comparable with the Dome Patrol. And what we saw Monday night, was a game very similar to Jim Moore era football, with the defense carrying the game, basically shutting out the opposing offense, and the offense doing just enough with a lot of punts and a lot of field goals and playing for a lot of field position, offense doing just enough to win a game. But we'll talk more about that. I'm your host, Alan Ulrich. Welcome again to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. I'm here with my somewhat awake partner over there, Sean Williams. How you doing tonight, Sean?
Oh, I'm plenty awake. As far as wait a minute. Let me pay the bills first before we go any further.
Yep.
I want to thank Fan First Productions for sponsoring our show. We want to invite you guys to subscribe to us on iTunes and on YouTube. And for the record, when I checked today, I want to know who is going to be the 200th subscriber to our YouTube channel. At 5:30 this afternoon, we were at 199 subscriptions. I want to know who's going to, if you are that 200th, let me know and I will give you a shout out on our show. We love our subscribers. We love our supporters. Obviously, to quote Grease, if you can't be an athlete, be an athletic supporter.
There you
go. Throwback to my youth. Now, getting into the Monday Night Meltdown. Anyway, there's 2 schools of thought, and the first being we are the very best of the very best. We should absolutely skull drag the Carolina Panthers. Then there's the reality-based school of thought that says, they're a division foe. This is always, especially in Carolina, this is always a very defensive, very hard-fought battle. And make no mistake about it, what you saw last night, to encapsulate about the best way that I know to put it is Luke effing Kuechly. Oh my Lord! I told a friend of mine, a Carolina Panthers guy, actually. I told him, Luke Kuechly is absolutely, without a doubt, the very most cerebral linebacker that I have seen since Mike Singletary. And for me, that is pretty much the ultimate compliment that I can pay the guy. He is without a doubt the very best at what he does. And, Jason Witten and Mike Tessitore couldn't help themselves. They had to blow it up last night. If you listen to the mic that they had on Kuechly, he was absolutely Drew Brees' shadow all night. He was very well prepared, very well ready for the challenge at hand. That to me, there is no better middle linebacker in the National Football League than Luke Kuechly, and that's head and shoulders. It's not even debatable.
Did you notice what happened on the 4th-and-1 play when instead of the Saints, they were expecting Breeze to go over the top? Instead of Breeze going over the top, you pitched it to Kamara. Do you see what he did?
Yes.
When he collapsed on the field, looked like, what else could I have done tonight?
Yeah.
To me, that was everything. You had 11 guys on the Panthers defense, and some of the Panther fans may or may not agree with me, but you had 11 guys in that Panthers defense. Only one, it seemed, really cared about winning that ball game and was going to do everything in his power to win that game. He was going to will the Panthers to win that game. Maybe there was a couple others on defense, maybe Thomas Davis, maybe a couple other guys, but Luke Kuechly played his heart out, left it all out on that field because he wanted to end the losing streak, and he wanted to do it by beating the Saints because he had pride as a professional. He was tired of the sweep. He was tired of losing, and he laid it all on the line that night. And that play, when the Saints pitched it to Kamara instead of going over the top, and he ran that play down, and they had an opportunity to stop Kamara short, and they didn't. That said it all to me. I mean, that told me how badly he wanted to win that game. That game was his entire season. It didn't matter. Their chance of making the playoffs was slim to none. It didn't matter for that. All that mattered was if I'm gonna beat somebody in this season, it's gonna be the Saints because of the respect he has for the Saints and what they are accomplishing. He wanted to have the ability to say, yeah, they won the Super Bowl, but we beat them. We beat them, and it didn't happen. And it really crushed him that he did everything he could, and that one play prevented them from winning. Of course,
I think to be totally honest with you, Alan, I think that the national media, and you and I have talked about this ad nauseum, but and we pretty much agree on this. The national media does not really get behind the entire New Orleans Saints making that push thing because there's nothing in it for them, basically, the long and short of it.
There's no story.
But
there's no story for that.
The teams that we've played in the last month, you look at the Carolina Panthers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Dallas Cowboys, and who was it before Dallas?
Philadelphia.
What?
No, I'm sorry, Atlanta. Then it was.
We have got
Philadelphia
over the past. I'll just divide it up into the last month. Over the last month, we have gotten the absolute best game planning against us that could possibly be brought to bear. By last night by Carolina, previously by Tampa Bay for a half we looked ineffective. The Dallas Cowboys, obviously they shut this stratospherical offense down.
Well, let me just interrupt you real quick. Look at what's happened to the Rams. I mean, we're all celebrating the Eagles beat the Rams. We beat the hell out of the Eagles 48-7. Okay? On our home field. and the Rams couldn't get, 10 points? I don't remember what the score was, but the Rams offense struggled against the Eagles.
Actually, it was the final score of the Rams-Eagles was 30-23.
Okay, 23. All right.
Yeah.
But some of those points came late in the game.
Yes.
Goff played a terrible game in that against the Eagles. The Kansas City Chiefs, they lost. They lost to the Rams. They've lost their running back. Yes, they've gone out there and blown out a couple of teams since then. But I'm saying they're not people looking at the Chiefs like, yeah, but they're not going to win the Super Bowl because now everybody's on the Chargers bandwagon. That was the game the Chiefs lost. They're now on the Chargers bandwagon. And the Chiefs had beaten the Chargers, 9 straight times, 7 straight times, something like that. Okay? The Cowboys, who beat us, got shut out by the Colts. Okay? The Patriots lost to the Steelers, who lost to the Raiders the week before. Okay? Everybody's panicking right now about the Saints offense because we're not hanging 50 points on everybody, and we're making a lot of mistakes. My point is, it's getting to this point in the season where the high-scoring offenses and the teams that were really rolling, they're starting to get tired. They're starting to hit that initial wall where they need another bye, they need another break. They're starting to lock up everything. So the players aren't playing as intensely anymore because, it's not that they're getting comfortable, but they're looking ahead a bit there's more to the season compared to the teams that we are playing. Tampa season was done. Atlanta season is done. Carolina season was on the line, and it's done now. The Cowboys were up against the wall. They needed a big statement win because when they lost to the Colts, look at it now. Now the Eagles because the Eagles beat the Rams and the Cowboys lost to the Colts, suddenly now there's a battle for that NFC East title where the Cowboys thought they had it locked up. So my point is the teams that have nothing left to play for are going to start playing now, especially against competitive teams that are looking to the postseason as a spoiler, as something they're going to play their hearts out just to mess up the other team's season a little bit. So that's what you're going to get. In the NFL, nobody just rolls over and dies. That's why the Raiders beat except for maybe the Arizona Cardinals. But, well, I mean, I read something today. They're about to fire
Chosen Rosen.
Yeah, they're about to fire that head coach, I heard. And, it's only been his first year, but, they're about to blow up that entire organization. This is – even the Raiders are not just going to roll over and die. They're going to still be competitive. They're still going to play hard because –
Oh, no. I got to disagree with you there. The Raiders they're going to put forth an effort like once a month to make it look like they're not tanking, but they're tanking.
Well, no, here's what happens.
We got to beat the Steelers, but, after that, we really got to suck because we don't want that draft pick.
They may want that draft pick, but at the same time, these players are playing for their jobs because they know that not only they probably won't be in Oakland anymore, but unless they really put on a good show, another team's not going to want to get any of these players because they're going to look at the film and go, all right, when it was losing, you're taking plays off, you're walking through practices, all these things. That's the stuff that players do not want out there that I gave up on a season. That's what started the show with Luke Kuechly.
Yeah.
They want to put tape out like Luke Kuechly that, everybody else maybe got their shit packed in their locker and ready to go home. But I'm going to lay it all out on the field, even if it means nothing, because I'm a prideful player. And if I'm lucky, I'll get the hell out of this cesspool of an organization. I'll get on a winning team because a winning team will see, you know what? there's a guy right there who, even though the rest of the team was tanking, he was still trying to win. And that's the kind of guy we want, because we know that everybody's a hero when it's winning. When you're winning, everything's good. But it's that guy, you remember, like I'm jumping all over the place, but remember when Randy Moss, years ago against the Washington Redskins, the game was over. Even though there was time left on the clock, he took his helmet off and was walking towards the locker room. Remember that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can't. Players do. Randy Moss is an exception, but most players can't afford that, because if teams see you do that kind of stuff, they're gonna be like, "I don't want this guy. He's a cancer." That's the term they have. He's a cancer. Yeah. He's a loser, and he is only good and only tries when things are good. When things are bad, he quits. And that's what we're getting. We're getting teams that aren't going to quit. Week 17 will probably still get a lot of effort out of Kuechly, even though they're probably going to be facing 6-10.
Luke Kuechly is one of those types of players that it doesn't matter if it's 13-2 or 2-13. He has no choice. It's like part of his DNA. He must be Luke Kuechly and be what he is. And I've always respected that about him.
You've played and I've played, and game is over. You're not going to win this game, but I'll be damned if I'm running full sprint at the end of the game, because I hate losing. And that's what you're talking about. Luke Kuechly hates losing. He's not here to lose. He's here to win. And there are some people, and we see this in life, and unfortunately happens more and more in life, where people don't like, if they're losing, they just shut it down, or they don't want to be a part of it. They want to walk away. They want to quit. I don't want to be a part of this. I'm not here to lose.
Everybody has a competitive streak until there's nothing to be competitive about. And that's really sad and unfortunate, but it is what it is. Now we're talking so much about Kuechly. Let's acknowledge our defense. I don't think that I'm out of line at all by saying that in that win in Carolina last night, the defense made it possible.
Sure. Absolutely.
That inside of a minute, you're looking for that dagger in the heart touchdown. Obviously, it doesn't work out so well for Tommy Lee Lewis. And the defense
I was pissed.
Oh, you have no idea. I looked to bend the camera angle to where it would look like I was justified in saying that ball went out of bounds, but it didn't happen that way.
I knew it was a touchback as soon as he fumbled.
Yeah, I wanted, for Tommy Lee Lewis's sake, I wanted it to be a situation where he screwed up, but he did it going forward, so to speak. At the same time, we needed the win, and if it had been anybody but Noodle Arm Newton,
you saw what I wrote yesterday. Carolina's going through the 2002 Saints. They've got the 2002 last 3 games of 2002 season. Aaron Brooks. That's what they got with Cam Newton. You can see it. He physically has lost arm strength as that game goes along. Look at when he compare that pass he threw that Eli Apple picked off right before halftime to those passes he was throwing at the end of the game or late in the fourth quarter that were one-hopping in front of receivers. They were talking all about, the announcers were annoying as shit. because Booger McFarland and Jason Witten kept saying whenever the Saints were on offense, boy, this is a drive that the Panthers defense needs to stop them. And when the Saints were on defense and Carolina was on offense, this is the drive where Carolina has to get something going. Never once was it, this is the drive the Saints need to get going. Or never once, this is the drive the Saints defense needs to shut Carolina down because the offense is struggling. You just kept hearing over and over and over again about Carolina. Okay.
Yeah.
And, my fear after that fumble, and I'll let you go back to completing your point. I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place on you today. But my fear with that fumble was I had just said right before that, we can't afford a field goal. We have to score a touchdown, put this game away, because a field goal would have only put us up by 6. And I just had this vision of Carolina getting down the field and scoring a touchdown and going, getting the extra point and beating us by a point. Okay. But I knew they weren't going to be able to do it with Cam Newton throwing the ball deep because he simply could not do it. They were going to have to throw it underneath, and they were going to have to get out of bounds. And aside from the lack of alacrity that team had in a 2-minute drill with no timeouts, the running backs and the receivers kept staying in bounds. They didn't head towards the sideline at all. I'm like, hell yeah, keep doing that. I'm good. Run, clock, run.
I think the entire game was encapsulated in there. I'm not exactly sure when it occurred, but there was a point late in the game where Carolina was driving and time was of the essence, and they managed to convert a third down, and the clock is running, and
first half.
Cam Newton makes that first down, and the clock is running, and he gets up and he has to dab, and the whole while, the clock's running. Dude, think of your team, not of yourself.
Exactly.
But Cam Newton is hurt. Let's call it for what it is.
Well, he's got to have a damaged AC joint, or he's got rotator cuff issues because something's happening, or even a pinched nerve. Something's happening to his arm strength as the game goes on.
Yeah.
I saw worse balls come out of his hand as the more he was out there. It seemed like the worse the passes got. And I'm like, I've seen this before. I've seen this with Aaron Brooks. This is the Cincinnati game all over in 2002. This is the Carolina game at the end of the 2002 season when I think it was Jake Reed. I'm almost positive it was Jake Reed in the end zone, and Brooks is about the 20, and Reed is by himself. And Brooks looks away and throws underneath because there was no way he's going to throw that ball from the 20 into the corner of the end zone where Reed was. There was no way he was going to get that ball to him. He knew it. So he threw the underneath throw. And, boy, the fans were pissed, chanting, "We want Jake." And Hazlitt just got more and more stubborn. And that was, to me, that was the end of that was a death knell for Hazlitt. He lasted 3 more seasons, but that was the turning point in that season for him, that the fans turned against Aaron Brooks and turned against Jim Hazlitt because it was obvious that he could not play at a high level. And if you put Jake Delhomme in there, you have a shot at making the playoffs. I think that's what's happening in Carolina, and I think that's going to cost Ron Rivera's job because it's obvious that Cam Newton simply cannot throw the ball like he did when he's healthy, and you're losing the season. You've lost the season because you're stubbornly keeping Cam Newton in there, knowing that he cannot perform at the level he's supposed to perform at because you're terrified of what would happen if you put that backup quarterback in there. I don't even know who the backup quarterback is. He may suck. I don't know.
Is it Jake Delhomme?
No, Jake's been retired. Jake's raising horses in Bro Bridge. In fact, my daughter got to meet Jake. He came in the UL locker room. Yeah, I know.
I was being facetious.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know you were, but I'm just saying, it's
At least I didn't say was it Rodney Peete.
No, it's you're being FaceTime. Not being FaceTime. Who is it?
I think it's really, really a bizarre thought process, but it would not be completely out of the question. Each division in the NFL, all 8 of them, have 4 teams.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not, while I don't think that it will work out to be that way, it is not outside the realm of possibility that 3 of the teams in the NFC South could be looking at coaching changes in the offseason. I don't expect Atlanta to fire Dan Quinn yet. I fully expect him to completely I can't use that word, Sarkisian as offensive coordinator, and it'll only come about 16 games too late.
They'll probably can the defensive coordinator too.
Yeah. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oh my God. With all due respect to my buddy Gene, there was a movie in our generation called Uncommon Valor.
Mm-hmm.
And Randall Tex Cobb played this guy named Sailor, and he wore a hand grenade around his neck.
I remember that movie.
They asked him, "Why do you wear a hand grenade?" Because if things get too asterisk HITTY,
I know.
if things get that, pull the plug and pull the pin and see what's next. I fully anticipate that being what the future holds for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it could be as simple as Dirk Cutter losing his job, and it could be as complex as Dirk Cutter, Jameis Winston, just a complete clearing of the locker room. And then there's the Carolina Panthers. And, as much as I may hate statistics don't lie. Cam Newton, for better or for worse, he is the guiding force for the Carolina Panthers, and statistics tell you that he has never had 2 winning seasons back to back.
Carolina's never had 2 winning seasons back to back. Never.
What?
Carolina itself, the franchise, has never had back-to-back winning seasons.
There you go.
Even when they won the division 3 times, with that middle one, they were 7-8-1. So
yeah. Well, there was a nervous breakdown involved in that, but it is what it is. You can't make it into something that it isn't, because ultimately on Sunday you still have to go out there on the field and do what it is that you're supposed to do. And because why is that so hard to say? Consistently speaking, that has not been the case for the Carolina Panthers, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and to a certain extent for the New Orleans Saints as well.
Well, and that takes us right back to how we started the show. With a lot of the teams, high-powered offenses struggling and not being as consistent as they were, in early November till about Thanksgiving. Maybe the first weekend after Thanksgiving, not getting those high-powered offenses going again. I think I think the Saints are following that pattern. I think injuries have caught up to them. I saw it last night. Drew Brees double clutch, and it was late on a few throws. He was late last week too on a couple of throws. And then, of course, you lost Unger. Then you lost Bushrod in the game. So, you had to shift around the offensive line. You bring in Will Clapp for his first appearance. His first week he was active, probably all season. He had to go jump in for guard real quick. Cameron Tom had to come in at center, and then Pete had to go kick out. Andrews Pete had to kick out the tackle. So the whole from the middle of the line all the way to the left you've got essentially three new starters. Pete playing left tackle being a new position for him this season. He hasn't had to do that all season. Okay. So you had that issue going on. I don't know if there's something really wrong with Kamara. This is just a speculation. This is not something that, I have any proof of. But Kamara recently has looked a little less explosive than earlier in the season, or especially last season. It could be he is reading a lot more and trying to do a lot more. I mean, Carolina was tackling him a lot around the ankles, tackling a lot around the lower leg, whereas in previous games, they would try and tackle him a lot higher, and he would slide off of those hits. It was 2 or 3 plays where I thought, that there's one in particular I'm thinking about where they had I thought Kamara had the touchdown easily, and Eric Reed made that tackle right there in open field. I was very disappointed in that because I thought that was the play it was going to be, kind of get us offense rolling. And that was just a play I thought that the Kamara of 2017 or the Kamara of earlier this season probably jukes him out of his shorts and somehow makes it to the end zone untouched, and we just didn't see that. It's just a feeling I have. I have no proof of this whatsoever other than just what I'm looking at, and it just doesn't look like he is as explosive as he was. Well, and it may change. It may change in the postseason. He may come right back in the postseason looking like how he did against the Redskins in 2017. I don't know.
Okay, number one, Tommy Lee Lewis on the touchback play. I don't fault Tommy Lee Lewis. If there's any issue that I have with that play, it's that Lewis was not aware enough of the situation as to what could potentially happen. But at the end of the day, Tommy Lee Lewis was trying to make a play for his team, and I don't fault that any at all whatsoever. And this time, luckily, the defense saved him on it.
Yeah,
I don't fault Tommy Lee Lewis for trying to, because I mean, they don't get in there and they don't knock that ball loose. That's a touchdown. Game over.
It's at least a first down.
Yeah,
because you could have got a first down without getting a touchdown. And, how many players do you see put that ball out, expose that ball to reach over and get that extra yard? In fact, I was just commenting in one of the chats that I was in during the game, that he was bitching, a guy was bitching about a play, 2 plays before that, I think, when it was right before they had the 4th and 1. Why didn't Smith reach out, expose the ball, and get over that yellow line? I'm like, well, he can't see the yellow line, first off. And secondly, you don't want to, he doesn't want to expose the ball because he's afraid to turn the ball over. So he's protecting the ball. And this goes to what you were just saying, that you don't fault Tommy Lee Lewis. He doesn't know. He didn't think, I should say, not that he doesn't know. He didn't think about the potential of a touchback. Yeah. He's stretching to either get the first down or get the touchdown and be the big hero. Just reach out. Everybody's seen that Reggie Bush play in Miami in 2009 where he leaps in the air, puts that ball out, and scores. And
from like the 25-yard line.
Yeah, he had jumped about that far. He did that against the Steelers too. So they've seen that. That's one of the pictures probably in the Saints training facility. That picture of Bush in the air against Miami in 2009 with the ball out like that, reaching over the pylon. Actually, it was probably like this, I'm doing the opposite because you got to look at it. But yeah, he had the ball this way and he's going out of bounds that way, but he got the ball in bounds over the pylon. So
okay, new rule of thumb. when you're like 5'2", don't stretch for the end zone. Get what you can get, but hold on to the damn ball.
Right. So, I mean, it pissed me off. I screamed no, like, the character in The Office, I mean, Michael screaming, no, that's just, I was really upset about that because I was so worried that was going to cost us the game. But the defense, of course, and that's how we started this conversation. The defense stepped up, and we are seeing finally a defense that not only can, hold its own, like with our offense, but actually is winning ball games for us. They won the ball game for us against Tampa Bay. They won the ball game in this one too, because except for that bullshit, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but it was the bullshit high school playground, draw that play in the dirt kind of, halfback option pass on 4th and 1 that gave him the touchdown, because it's going to happen. You've got everybody up at the line of scrimmage. Marcus Williams probably was the one that blew that play, because that was probably Williams' responsibility to catch the guy if anybody runs. And he bit on the fake because they wanted to keep McCaffrey from getting that yard. Because you thought McCaffrey was really getting that ball and was going to try and race to the corner, use his speed to get to that corner. So I don't blame him, but I'm blaming him. Well, yeah, because
we can call that Marcus Williams all damn play.
Well, he was in no man's land. He's damned if damned if you do, damned if you don't. Let's say that he doesn't run that option play and Williams sticks with his man. What's going to happen? Whatever fans going to say, where the hell was the safety? How come the safety didn't build the wall and cut him off? What's he doing out there chasing that tight end? He ain't going to catch anything. It's damn if you do, damn if you don't. It's a 2-on-1 play, and I get that.
To the effect of what you're saying, I told somebody that during the game last night, it wasn't exactly the optimal performance level for the New Orleans Saints by any stretch of the imagination. But, I mean, if you break it down and you look at it for what it was, the only points that the Carolina Panthers put on the board last night was a gimmick play and a 2-point conversion gone wrong.
Yeah, it was a sprint right option, and Breeze should have thrown it away.
Your all-star, everything quarterback and your running back, blah, blah, blah. You didn't score any points on our defense.
No, because the Saints defense did exactly what they needed to do. They knew that offense was going to go through Christian McCaffrey, and they were on him every time he got the ball. He was going to power his way through that stuff. He was a slasher. He was only going to get yards with cutbacks and out in space. That was where he was getting his yards. And they were sitting on all the routes. They blitzed on 3rd and 4th down, which you never do if you think Cam Newton is healthy. You never blitz him on like that on 4th down, because if you miss him, he's going to have lots of open space, and he's got a strong enough arm. He could really push that ball downfield, but they knew he couldn't do it. So they sent blitzes right in his face, and they got a lot of sacks because of it. And, I have to give him a lot of credit. I mean, even when they gave up a big play, like the DJ Moore pass, where he was going to the races, Von Bell runs him down and punches that ball out. He didn't try to make the tackle right. He punched that ball out, because that just breaks your spirit. And Eli Apple, a lot of people have been ripping in that trade going, he was a bum in New York. He's a bum for us here. Well, what are you seeing now? You're seeing Eli Apple slowly.
How many years was he in New York?
He was drafted the year of Michael Thomas, so it was 2016.
So he's been basically 2 years in New York.
Mm-hmm. But he was
and
never a shutdown corner. So
and
that's why New York
he's been in New Orleans for 10 games.
No. He's been in New Orleans now for, what was his first game? Minnesota? Was that his first game?
Oh, God, I don't remember.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. Let's say, I'm going to say Minnesota was his first game. I think that's when the trade deadline was. So he was playing for in the Minnesota game. So yeah, 8 games essentially.
Okay,
I don't think he went at the Ravens. He wasn't in the Ravens game. I know that.
He spent 8 games in New Orleans, and he already has more interceptions with the Saints than he did for 2 years for the Giants. Eli Apple is coming into his own. He's fully integrating into the system. Marcus.
Yeah, not Davenport. Marshawn Davenport. That's what you're trying to say. No,
Marshawn Davenport. He can rush the passer,
Marcus Lattimore. Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
he can rush the passer or he can cover. It doesn't matter.
Lattimore is not having the season he had last year. Clearly, he's not even playing at the same level he was playing last year, but he is getting better.
He hasn't had to, though. I don't think there's been nearly enough attention paid to the fact that, people are avoiding Lattimore. He hasn't had to be that.
I don't know if there's so much avoiding him as I think the Saints' pass rush is better than it was last year. I think Lattimore is still making some mistakes. He is, last year, even when the pass rush wasn't getting to him, wasn't getting to the quarterback, Lattimore was on top of receivers and basically taking them out of the game plan. He was shadowing them so much better. Now he's a bit more of a guesser, it looks like. He's more susceptible to moves, double moves and things like that. And he is getting beat on things, but it's kind of fitting with the whole defense. It's a bend, don't break. We're going to let you get some yards between the 20s, but once you get inside the 20 and that field shrinks, we're on top of you. And the pass rush is getting to these guys. The pass rush is so much better than it was last year. And it makes the secondary so much better because the secondary can play a lot more aggressively.
Yeah. I've made no two bones about it from day one. If the New Orleans Saints score 23 points to your 22, I'm good with that. Mm-hmm. If we allow 17,000 yards rushing, passing, whatever during that game, I don't really care. At the end of the day, what's going to determine how this team moves on in the postseason is going to be determined by a W or an L.
Yeah. This fits in with your point. Did you know Carolina was 7-15 on third down last night?
Yep.
But it didn't seem like it did it.
No, not at all.
It seemed like they were running in place. They were slogging in a wet, muddy field where they would get about as far as midfield and then it all would go to shit. That's kind of how this defense has been playing. Yeah, they'll give up a conversion. They'll give up third down conversion. It's frustrating as all hell because you want to get them off the field. You want that 3 and out so badly. But they'll convert a couple of third downs, but they haven't gone anywhere. The team is still way outside of field goal range. That's what we're seeing. The closest I could remember the Saints playing that way was against Seattle in that playoff game in 2013, where it felt like we were moving the ball, but we weren't going anywhere. We would get to midfield, and that was about it. We've converted 2 or 3 third downs, because we started so deep in our territory, convert 2 or 3 third downs. We think we got a drive going. We get to about midfield, a penalty happens, or a sack, or, just a bad possession, a drop pass, whatever. And suddenly now it's 3rd and long. We don't convert. We're short. And we have to punt. But we've had the ball for like 5 minutes. And we converted 2 or 3 third downs to get that far. But we didn't go anywhere. That's what it felt like. And that's what happened to Carolina last night. They did do some things, but they never got a drive going where you felt like they were in control. They were dominating. You felt like, just a missed tackle away from getting off the field.
Well, 2 quick thoughts. Number one, the entire Carolina Panthers game last night, and I told this to our buddies Tony and Joey from the C3 podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Last night felt pardon my terminology. Last night felt a hell of a lot more like an escape than it did a win.
Well, yeah, because your offense didn't play very well.
The entire game was like, okay, it's not who wants it more, it's who's going to try harder to give it away than.
I would agree with that.
Sure,
I would agree with that. And because the Saints kept shooting themselves in the foot. There was not a single big play, it felt like, that they could do that didn't get a penalty that would set them back. Michael Thomas gets a big pass play after Booger McFarland's talking about how, Carolina's got Michael Thomas all under wraps. Big pass play. Here comes a flag. Face mask. Got to push it back. It's now 2nd and 8.
Can I just say
what?
I'm sorry that triggered.
No,
nervous.
We've been watching a lot of ref ball lately, so yeah, go ahead.
That triggered an emotional breakdown for me. That play, I don't remember when, I don't remember where, blah blah blah.
First drive of the 3rd quarter.
Okay, when Michael Thomas and whoever in the hell was their defensive back of the moment, they call offsetting personal foul penalties. I have never, I'm 51 years old. I've been following this game for 40 plus years. I have never seen an offensive player called for a face mask for a stiff arm.
I'll tell you what they saw. And it was.
They saw a paycheck. Damn it.
They were right, but they don't normally call it. He had the stiff arm out, and as he went to pull it back, he turns his hand, and his pinky and I think his ring finger get caught in the face mask as he's pulling his hand back. So it's enough to jerk the guy's head, and they're going to throw the flag.
Yeah.
But, it's one of those things where I've seen that before, and they don't call it. But they called it there. And that's how it felt. It was just one of those – it's just one of those plays where if, some of the holding calls, I'm like, that's holding? Really? You're calling that? Meanwhile, one of our players is getting a headlock as he's trying to come across. You don't call that holding call. It's just one of those things. It was a frustrating night because pass interference is so subjective.
It always is a frustrating night when it's a close game like that, and your team is underperforming or underachieving what they normally would. Let me take this opportunity to say you could not melt me and pour me into the job of an NFL official because there's absolute and.
They'd shoot my ass if I was out there. They'd shoot me.
You could have said this 25 years ago, and it's exponentially worse now. There's no way you can win. If you don't call it tight enough, this team is going to be, or this fan base is going to be offended. If you call it too tight, this fan base is going to be offended.
I throw a flag on Tom Brady every time he whined to me.
Yeah, I would throw the flag at Tom Brady.
Oh, you want to do like the old? What was that official's name? Hit the Cleveland Browns offensive lineman in the eye. They had to change the way the flags looked. They had the bean bags in it, and he got that rice whatever in his eye. Who was that? Brown was his last name. What? Damn.
He played for the Vikings.
No, he played. It was the Cleveland. Well, he may have played for the Vikings, but he was with the Browns when it happened to him. And it wasn't Jeff Triplett. I think it was that dude that was always in the wrong place at the wrong time. The guy who couldn't call heads or tails, and couldn't hear heads or tails when Jerome Bettis yelled it out against the Detroit Lions, and he said Bettis said heads, and it came up tails. Yeah, and he's like, okay, tails and Lions, and Bettis like, wait, that's what I said, and that one. And it was the same guy who Joe Horn was on a deep pass from Aaron Brooks, and he got out. He couldn't get out of the way, and he got in Horn's way and broke up the pass. Horn was by himself. That was an easy touchdown, and this guy got in his way. God, I got to remember his name. He had a big nose too, and I'm a hell of a one to talk about something like that. But I can picture this dude. I know who he is. I just cannot think of his name, but I think that's the ref that did it. He had all these mistakes. In fact, NFL Films did a thing on him, but all the mistakes because it seemed like he was always in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I don't remember.
I think he was the one that threw the flag that hit that guy in the eye and ended his career. Remember right?
If I were a referee and I was calling a New England game, I'd be like, "You think you're pinpoint? Take that, Brady." I have no appreciation, I can't say I have no respect. I have no respect for Tom
Orlando
Brady.
Brown. That's who it was, Orlando Brown. And he oh man, he's dead. I did not know this. I forgot about this. He died in 2011 at 40 years old. But he had the flag hit him in the eye, and it closed his eyes shut. Who was the official that threw the flag? It was Jeff Triplett. Oh, my favorite official in the whole wide world. Jeff Triplett did it. I knew it was, Jeff Triplett threw it. Yeah. They had ball bearings in the flags back then, so they would land. And he hit him in the eye. I remember that. And his eye was all swollen shut. Yeah, Jeff Triplett. A man who there was never a holding call, never too many holding calls with Jeff Triplett. That bastard loved to call holding calls. Every time I heard he was the official, like, oh Lord, here we go.
Yeah.
It's gonna be all day. Holding. You call holding every damn play. But let me see if I can remember who that official was. That official that ran into Joe Horn. Not in Joe Horn's way. No, I don't want to hear that. There, let's see. All right. Official who didn't hear Bettis. All heads.
We've kind of crossed
Phil Luckett. Phil Luckett was his name. Phil Luckett. That was the guy. Yeah. I know. We go way back, but I'm telling you, that was in 1998. I'm telling you, I can remember things like that. I'm like going, oh God. Yeah. Phil Luckett was the official who that was Thanksgiving Day. And Bettis allegedly said head tails. And Bettis said, I didn't say that. I said tails. But yeah. Okay. I remember that. Well, that's my favorite all time. And I know we're going way out there now, but you want to see my favorite? This is my wife used to say all the time, if I was a head coach, I would have been like Bill Cowher as far as reacting on the sideline, like Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher got called one time for they called off a field goal because they said there was 13 men on the field or something like that. And back then, they used to take an overhead picture and they'd run it down a wire, and you'd have to have a hard copy of the picture. Man, I'll never forget this. The highlights on back when ESPN was good and they had NFL primetime. You see Coward, and he had to draw out this far, and he's counting. You can see he's counting how many men are on the field, and the officials were wrong. And boy, he exploded, and he ran. It was right before halftime, and they're running off the field, and Bill Coward gets in his face, pointing at it, screaming at him, and then takes the picture and shoves it in the damn official's front pocket because it's like, here, you can count it yourself. You were wrong. Take the picture. And Chris Berman had so much fun with that because Chris Berman was like, take the picture. Take the picture. It was great. That was when the NFL was really fun. Now it's, purely rough ball with that shit. But back then it was a lot of fun when you see the coaches lose his mind.
Well, really quick. As we sit right now, the New Orleans Saints are atop the NFC West. West? What the hell?
It's West, South. What's the difference?
I had a flashback. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My past is out there. They sit on top of the NFC, period. You're looking at 2 games left in the season, 1 game to secure home field throughout the playoffs. First up, the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team absolutely atrocious on the road this year. What do you foresee coming up this weekend?
First half where Pittsburgh looks unstoppable. Probably a lot of big plays to Antonio Brown, and Connor getting some nice runs, and fans getting very nervous because the Saints are having a slow start. Then Pittsburgh self-destructs, which is what they do.
Much like the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah. You're going to see turnovers. You're going to see bad play calls. Suddenly that unstoppable offense won't look so unstoppable. The announcers will be wondering how come they haven't thrown Antonio Brown or Schuster in forever, or even better, why do they keep throwing the ball to those guys? And suddenly the offensive line for the Steelers can't block anymore, and Cam Jordan, Davenport, and Sheldon Rankins are just beating the hell out of them, and they're wondering how come the Steelers have abandoned the run. They've got the lead and that kind of thing. I think that's just my feeling how this game is going to play out. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. We could come out and suddenly the Saints, because they're home, they know what matters in this game. They want a 2-week layover. They don't want a 1-week bye. They want a 2-week bye. They want week 17 to be meaningless. It's Teddy Bridgewater time. It's, the Washington is a backup running back out there. The young receivers are out there playing, a lot of Dan Arnold, a lot of that kind of stuff out there. It could be that kind of game too. I don't know. I just know that I feel that this is a game the Saints will win. I feel like Pittsburgh is so bipolar that they are going to lose it. And I think it's going to be one of those games where we're sitting here, whenever the show, if we're going to do the show on Wednesday, because next week is Christmas, we're a week from Christmas. If we do the show on Wednesday, it's going to be the game when we sit there and go, okay, we got the number 1 seed. We've got home field advantage locked up throughout the playoffs. What happens now? Is this team good enough to win in the playoffs, given what we've seen over the past month of the way this offense has been playing? That could very well be the subject matter we have next week. I don't know. I just feel like this is a game that the Saints will win because they've got to win. This is the game this is the next thing on, you have your little list of what you've got to do each year, your goals you're going to accomplish. Goal number 1, win your division. Goal number 2, playoffs. goal number 3, first overall, first round, first seed, so you get that first week bye. Those are your goals. I think that they're at this goal now, and their goal after that is get past the divisional round, get to the NFC Championship game, win the NFC Championship game, win the Super Bowl, and we're here now. And I just feel like that's they want this. They want to have this sewed up in front of the fans and make week 17 a week of rest where they can, get healthy and get geared up for the playoffs. And that's the other thing. I'm sorry, I'll let you say in a second, but that's the other thing we have to look for. What does Unger come back this week from the concussion protocol? Does Bushrod come back this week? What are we? If we're going to go out there with Cameron Tom out there, and Will Clapp and Pete at left tackle, what does that mean? So, go ahead.
I don't sweat the yes. Unger getting hurt last night was major. Unger hurt. Losing Unger hurts way, way, way worse than Teron Armstead ever did. You got an offensive tackle over here. You can kind of isolate that weakness and go this way with it, or do what you need to do. When you have a man that's calling all the offensive signals on the offensive line, and he gets hurt, that's a deal breaker. I think that they're going to go all out to go ahead and get this thing settled, where the Carolina Panthers game becomes meaningless. And make no mistake about it, I honestly and sincerely believe that if the Saints beat the Pittsburgh Steelers at home this Sunday, you all your money guys, your Drew Brees, your Alvin Kamara, your Mark Ingram, your Michael Thomas, none of those guys are even going to be allowed into the Superdome. Y'all don't come. Y'all not going to be welcome. Y'all not going to be allowed to enter. Rest. And
they may play one series, though. They may play one series, like a preseason game.
Well, they better play that series on Wednesday. You're going to get, as the number 1 seed, you're going to get 3 weeks rest, basically. If you do it in week 16, if you secure home field against the Steelers, you're not playing in the last week of the season. You've got a bye week, and then you've got a week in preparation for the survivor of the wild card round. So you got 3 weeks to recover and heal, and and I hate to say this because it almost sounds like I'm tempting fate. The New Orleans Saints under Peyton and under Peyton with Breeze, have never lost a playoff game in the Superdome.
Yeah, I know.
And you take that for what what it's worth. You tell me every team that's lined up in the NFC to make a playoff run, I can tell you 5 ways that the New Orleans Saints can beat them. But yet and still, it's going to be what they're able to put out on that field and what they're going to be able to do on game day. And the biggest, most essential part of that is going to be being healthy. And right now, they're reaching the point of no return on the offensive line because you got Unger in concussion protocol. You got Teron Armstead, God only knows from 1 minute to the next whether he's going to be active or not.
I think he could play. I think Peyton is making the deliberate decision not to play him right now.
I fully anticipate Teron Armstead being active for this week. I believe he was held out versus the Carolina Panthers as just kind of basically a precautionary thing. they didn't want to rush him and get him in there and have him for 2 quarters and then lose him for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I believe that was fully precautionary.
I think if they could do it, they're going to leave him on the shelf all the way until the divisional playoff round. They want him there for that game.
If Unger is out, if Bushrod is out, they're not going to be left with many options, in my opinion.
You could play Pete at left tackle. He can do it. It's the question you have now is, okay, are you going to trust Clapp to start the whole game? That would be a question mark. Do they bump somebody up? Do they pick somebody up off the waiver wire, to kind of bring into practice? I don't know. I don't know yet. I mean, you lost Michael Ola. You're down to your depth is practically non-existent now as far as offensive linemen. You're going to have to bring somebody in because Clapp was playing your third tackle. You're in the jumbo packages because you don't have a tight end that's strong enough to block. You have one. You have 1.5 because while Watson can block, you really don't need him on the jumbo packages. You need him more as the chip guy who can occasionally run block at 38 years old, but most of his stuff is going to be running short pass patterns underneath. Hill can't catch. You've seen that. He may catch a little wide receiver screen. He may occasionally catch a pass, but he's not your receiver. That's why Dan Arnold's been out there so much as your pass catching tight end. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. That you're right. That it's going to be an issue to try and find 6 healthy offensive linemen for this game. If Bushrod and Unger are still in the concussion protocol. I'm not even sure what's wrong with Bushrod. I don't know what happened to him.
Hamstring.
Was it hamstring?
Okay. That's what I've heard today. It's going to be the next couple of days. And, if you look at this big picture, with us playing on Monday Night Football, that makes this a short week.
Mm-hmm.
So that extra day of recovery is not going to be there.
No, today was their day off. They're going to hit practice field tomorrow. They don't have a day off. Today was supposed to look at the film, and they got to look at the film, but the rest of it was their quote-unquote day off. We got guys took treatment, but that was it. Tomorrow's regular practice, and so is Thursday. Fortunately, you're at home. You're at home. You don't have to fly out on Saturday.
Yeah. Your last 2 games of the season, I'm not Catholic, but it never hurts to cover all the bases. Fortunately, the last 2 games of the season are going to be home games.
Mm-hmm.
That bodes well for the New Orleans Saints. And on top of that, with the huge favor that Monroe, Louisiana's own Doug Peterson and his Eagles did. I'm sorry I had to do that. Did for the New Orleans Saints on Sunday night in defeating the Los Angeles Rams. And as long as I'm on this, allow me to gloat for just a moment. I kind of remember going back to maybe like preseason, and people thought I had lost my mind. I kind of remember vaguely a certain analyst, and I'm stretching that term, but a certain analyst saying that the Rams were not going to be everything that everyone anticipated them being, because of all these high-profile signings that they made. They weren't. Let me see. Ndamukong Suh is pretty much doing his own thing. Aaron Donald is absolutely operating at an MVP level, and that's nothing new for him. Your $1 million times 4 secondary is now like one guy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
your 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 clutch move the chains wide receiver is got a torn ACL, I think. And I believe over the last 3 games, your MVP quarterback candidate has thrown 8 interceptions to 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
Um, I, as the old saying goes, the season is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
It takes experience to get from point A to point B. These guys have no experience, and their head coach is younger than probably 3/4 of their roster. They're not the Saints.
Well, when you go and sign all these stars, and this is something I said before, when you go and bring in all these high price free agents, we were just talking about injuries before. We brought Kirkwood up from the practice squad. You got 7th-round pick Will Clapp, who could possibly start on Sunday, and he's been inactive all season. You've got a backup in Cameron Tom, who started at center. You've got Eli Apple, who's only been with this team 8 weeks because of a trade. You're seeing the importance of having depth at positions. And what the Rams did when they went all in, they sacrificed a lot of that depth. And you're seeing that show up in some of these losses that they're having right now. Cooper Kupp, losing him was critical because that was their guy who would go over the middle. That was their guy who was the outstanding route runner. He was the toughest receiver. You've got Brandon Cooks, who's just your speed guy. And you've got Robert Woods, who is really a good number 3 guy, but they got him playing the 2 because Kupp was such a lethal weapon in the slot. So as a result, they don't fear the Rams receivers without Kupp in there because Reynolds is not the receiver that Kupp was. And you're seeing more and more teams starting to blitz. And this offensive line that the Rams have has kind of gotten a little exposed because they're all 30 plus. They're kind of like the old Redskins over the hill gang. And that was one of the charges they made about George Allen's over the hill gang, that they were older. And as the season went on, when they got to that point in the season, especially the postseason, they felt the Redskins got tired. And it looks like the Rams offensive line is getting tired in games because they really, it's this offense demands a lot out of them, a lot of movement, a lot of shifting. So, and with people stopping the run now, stopping Gurley's not himself either. I think the Rams offense is struggling. That's where we came back to what we were talking about in the beginning of the show. It's about, how do you survive injuries? And I think the Saints are showing resilience because they've already been through the whole, we've lost our entire secondary. We've lost most of our offensive line. We've gone through all this. So we're more prepared for this than some of these other teams. So who knows? Who knows? That's another subject. Hopefully the Rams don't even make it to the divisional round. I mean, the NFC Championship game, and we're playing somebody like the Bears or the Cowboys. I would enjoy that.
And once again, I must toot my own horn. I do believe that the week following our defeat of the Rams, I said, everybody was talking about, well, we'll see him again in the NFC Championship. And I was the one that was saying, I don't think I'll ever make it to the NFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
I'll be glad.
Call me Moses. I'm a prophet, brother.
No, I'll be glad. Let the Bears beat him again. Give us the Cowboys in the divisional round. I'll love it. because I'd love to kick their ass right there in the Superdome. Let the Bears go and play them. And then, if we got to play the Bears in the NFC Championship game in New Orleans, I'll be happy because I don't think that gimmick offense could survive in the Dome. And I think a healthy Teron Armstead and a healthy Unger and a healthy offensive line can handle the Bears defensive line. And if you can handle that Bears defensive line, you put tremendous pressure on that offense to try and keep up with Drew Brees.
Well, you break it down. The Saints have an adequate defense. The Chicago Bears have a stellar.
I don't think it's adequate. I think it's good. I think it's very good. I think it's almost as good as the Bears. It's just not as flashy.
Well, yeah. You're only as good as your last outing.
Hey, the last 5 weeks, we've given up a total of 12 points per game. We gave 7 for the Eagles. Even the Cowboys, 13. We're giving up yards, but we're not giving up points. And that's what's key. I think the Bears, that all that horizontal bullshit they like to do, with the double crosses and the swing and the reverses and all this shit they like to do for misdirection. We stay home. Trubisky's not pushing that ball down the field on us. This is not a vertical attack. This is a horizontal attack that gets you all out of position, gets you all confused, and that's how they make plays. Cohen starts this way and goes back the other way. You stay home, he's coming right back to you. Don't leave. Yeah. He's going to come right back to you. Make the tackle. That's what all that bullshit, they like to do with smoke and mirrors and, find the queen, follow the shell. Where's the ball? Where's the queen? Where's the queen? Do all that. And then that ball snapped and you're going to be right where we think you are. And we're bringing you down. And as long as our offense has to be able to run the ball effectively, which I think we can, and those receivers, those young receivers have to step up and make plays, and I think that would be the difference because I think they can make plays against the Bears secondary. As good as Jackson is, I think that we can make plays against that secondary.
The difference maker between now and whenever the New Orleans Saints season ends, be that first round of the playoffs, Super Bowl, the success of the New Orleans Saints is going to be dependent. I hate to use this word. Their success is going to be dependent primarily on players like Traquan Smith, Kirkwood, that number 2 or number 3 wide receiver. Because if you look at this entire roster, that's going to be a hole.
Yeah. Well, I just think that Sean Payton's got that playbook. He's got it stuffed in the closet somewhere. He's going to pull it out come playoff time it's called Annihilate Opponents in the Dome. And he opens it up, and it's 4 verts. That's the first play. Second play, it's the swing pass to Kamara in the flat, in the third play, and it's aggressive. I don't give a damn where we are in the field. We're running a tight end reverse on 4th and 1, and that and it may turn out to be Taysom Hill as the tight end. You might see on 4th and 5 inside our own 20. A direct snap right to Taysom Hill, and it gets 25 yards. It's going to be that kind of stuff. It's going to be, I don't give a damn, gas pedal down. We're going to annihilate you in this dome. And that's what they did against the Cardinals in 2009. Give a big run on the first play from scrimmage. And then the rest of the game, as soon as they knocked Kurt Warner out, it was on like Donkey Kong. I mean, that's what happens, And I think that's what I don't see any team in the dome giving us shutting this offense down. and making this a low-scoring game. I see, our defense playing well enough to avoid shootouts, and I just see this team just turning it on in the dome. And I could be totally wrong, but that's just how I feel they're going to play the postseason.
I think the best I don't want to use the word option. I think the best chance that you have of limiting the New Orleans Saints offense is to be forced to play them on the road.
Yeah.
And if they're able to get past the Steelers on Sunday, that's not going to be an option. You're going to have to play them on, not just play them on a fast track, but you're going to have to play them on their fast track with their crowd.
Yeah, and the Dome is an old stadium, and the fans are very close to the field, and the shape of the dome really circulates that noise. So,
oh my God!
Yeah, so you get it's so close and intimate for it. When they get that thing cranked up, and we're rolling, it's a nightmare for teams. I'll never forget. And we're gonna have. Well, I'm telling you, I was at the Cardinals game in 2000. I went to both playoff games in 2009. But I was at the Cardinals game, and I'll never forget. My son Matthew was with me. We're watching the game, and I'm watching the defensive back, the guy who's going to return the kicks for the Cardinals. And the first kickoff, they're playing stand get crunk after every Saints score. First kickoff, he's dancing. Second kickoff, he's not dancing so much. Third kickoff, he's kind of standing around waiting for it. By the seventh kickoff, he's like, I hate this damn song. I don't want to hear this song again because that means they just scored again.
By the way, may I mention that your offspring,
which one?
The male offspring.
Oh, okay.
I made the playoffs in fantasy football, and I had to play Team UL Cajuns. None other than our friend of the show and offspring of your loins, Mr. Matt Ulrich. And by the time it was like we had to play for 2 weeks in the playoffs, and by the end of the game last night, it brought to mind that whole draft show experience before when you called him a rat bastard. I lost.
How bad?
Not as bad as it could have been. I think I had like 50 or 60 points to make up last night going into that game, and I had Alvin Kamara, the Saints defense, and Will Lutz. I think I made it respectable, but I still lost.
Yeah.
He had Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
And despite all the prayerful preparation that I did, Todd Gurley did not have a heart attack before his game. I'm playing for third place now with our buddy Richie Perkins has moved on to the finals against, I believe, against Matt. By the way, I don't know if we decide this or not. Next week, obviously, we're not going to circumvent that whole December 25th celebration that everybody else does. Next Wednesday, did we confirm this?
I told you I can do it. If you
okay.
want to do next Wednesday, I can do it.
I don't mean to put you on the spot on camera, but next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. Special night, special time. We don't want to ask anything of our fans that we're not willing to give ourselves. And, Christmas time is a time to be with our family and our friends and those that are closest to us. And we respect that. We don't want to not do a show because that doesn't stay true to what we're doing and the overall focus of this show. You know,
Now I have Christmas vacation lines going through my head. You know,
it's nipply out there.
no, it's the happiest family this side. You know, since
my I'm sorry.
Bing Crosby top dancer Danny fucking Cash.
My favorite line out of that is the little girl. We're really nervous. We're shitting bricks. You shouldn't say that. I'm sorry. We're shitting rocks.
Yeah.
That is.
And why is the carpet all wet, Todd? I don't know, Margot.
And the cat bites the light wire.
Or Julia Dreyfus, knocks on the door because she's going to chew out Chevy Chase. Throws open that squirrel, lands on her, then the dog comes and gets her. Everything about that movie is awesome.
Fix the nose.
Is Rusty still in the Navy? When did you move to Florida? As they look at all the snowdrift.
Fix the newel post. That's me. Fix the newel post.
That's everybody. Everybody's going through a Christmas like that.
But at any rate, next Tuesday night is Christmas night. We did not want to move to a Monday night on Christmas Eve because we realized that there's a lot of family things going on Christmas Eve, on Christmas night. We are going to move our show, and excuse me, out of respect to our brother from another mother, Bob Rose, and what is his traditional airtime on Wednesday at 8:00, we're going to move our show up an hour for the next 2 weeks. This week being the Christmas week, the following week being New Year's week. We're going to be Wednesday at 7 Central Time.
Mm-hmm.
Did I do all that right?
Yep. Both the day after Christmas, the day after New Year's.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'll give everyone time to watch Oklahoma completely skull drag the University of Alabama.
Wait, are you drinking?
What has that got to do with anything?
Yeah. All right.
All right. Da, 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 da.
Okay.
Man, Oklahoma's going to beat Alabama.
Okay. All right. You just keep thinking that. Notre Dame's going to beat Clemson too. Why don't you just keep thinking that?
Now, when we go on this show live and it's going to be Clemson and Oklahoma, what are you going to say?
You'll still have to wake me up because I'm being shocked.
I'm sorry. I'm going to rehab now.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick. Last thing we got to do before we get the air. I know people. I was watching for the Pro Bowl announcement to be made. 5 Saints made the Pro Bowl. Michael Thomas, Teron Armstead, Max Unger, Drew Brees, and Cameron Jordan. We can talk about it next week. The so-called snubs. I know a lot of people think Alvin Kamara should have gone instead of Todd Gurley, Saquon Barkley, and Ezekiel Elliott. I'd love to kick Elliott off this team, but he actually has better stats than Alvin Kamara, only because he's the only running back in town. Alvin Kamara splits with Mark Ingram. The only snub I really think the only guy I really think who got snubbed, because I really can't fault Demario Davis not making it, because look at the linebackers who did. Khalil Mack, Ryan Kerrigan, Anthony Barr, Luke Kuechly, Bobby Wagner. Really, who are you gonna kick off with? Maybe Anthony Barr. That's probably about the weakest one of the group. But the player I felt that really deserved a Pro Bowl shot was Will Lutz. He did not get it. The giant kicker got it. And, I just – Ulrich Rosas. I can't say – I don't think this kicker has been more accurate than Lutz this year. I could be wrong. I'm probably showing my bias, but I thought he deserved a shot at it.
Well, a lot of – and, you take this with a grain of salt, but a lot of the Pro Bowl balloting is done –
by morons. I'm sorry, fans.
Well, yeah, strictly by morons that are looking at statistics and to quote
who they like.
To quote Booger from last night, statistics are a lot like bikinis. They show you some things, but they're not going to show you everything.
Yeah. That's how my English teacher, you can tell, went to. This is long before the Me Too movement. We're way over time. We have to go, but this is long before the Me Too movement. But my old English teacher in high school told us that a paper should be as long as a woman's skirt, short enough to keep you interested, but long enough to cover the subject. That was his idea. Whatever a student said, how long should I write this paper for?
Every article that back in the day when I wrote articles, they would tell me, it's got to be X long. And by the time I finished it, it was like X plus a little long. I always wrote more than I had to. I was always an overachiever.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered the schedule change for us.
Mm-hmm.
I would be remiss if I didn't say, this is the second Christmas, so to speak, show that we've done. By the time we come to you again, Christmas will be over with. Thank you, Jesus. And we want to take the opportunity to wish each and every one of our followers, anyone that even kind of stumbles across us, anybody that has ever shown an interest in what we're doing or supported us in any way. We want to wish you and yours a very, very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, Kwanzaa, and Menorah. What
that would be Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
That is almost over.
Hanukkah, you light the menorah. I'm
12,
sorry.
Yes, 12 nights of Hanukkah.
To any end, we want to thank everyone, from the Anna Millett, Jerry Poor, Chad Parfait, all the people that have supported us when it was like us doing the show and 3 people in the live chat. It was always the same 3 people, and it's built from that. And, it's kind of fluctuated over the years, but there's always been that steady, those people like Jerry Poor and Anna Millett, and I could go on and on, but I would only get in trouble for missing people. But those 2 is more than especially have been supportive in what we do. I can't thank you enough. Whether you realize it or not, your Christmas gift to me is the support that you've shown our show. And I thank you for that from the very, very bottom of my heart. And to my esteemed partner and Miss Debbie and Allison and Matt and
Allison, Reagan.
Reagan. I always forget one. If I remember Reagan, I forget Allison. If I remember
child number 3. That's good. That's good enough.
Well, she's Tulane student.
Tulane,
so.
Yes. She's my Tulane student.
To the Ulrich family, I wish nothing but the greatest of holidays. You guys have been like second family to me, and I love you all. Wish you that merriest of Christmases. Everyone that has ever watched Under the Dome, I wish you the happiest of holidays. Thank you all so much.
Same to you, man. Same to you. I know you have little ones. Mine are all young adults now, so it's not nearly as exciting because, the toys get smaller and more expensive. It's a lot of fun when they're little and you can, Toys R Us doesn't exist anymore, but you could go to Toys R Us, spend about $50, $100, and it was like you empty the store because everything's big and, there's a lot of stuff underneath the tree at one time. Now you spend $50 to $100 and you got two things. And there's something. I'm a big kid at heart. I love Christmas. I always have. So yeah, enjoy them while they're young, because that's what makes Christmas so special to me, is that excitement, that joy they had that first morning at 5:00 in the morning. I meant to tell some stories on Facebook. I didn't do it, but I'll tell some stories maybe in the next show about some of what it was like on Christmas Day for me growing up. And just my brother was one of those kind of people, when my parents closed the door to finally go to bed, that was the trigger for his eyes to pop open. Santa came. It could be 4 a.m. Santa came. And he's down there, and we had to, we can't wake him up till 7 o'clock. And every toy we have makes noise, so it's just one of those things, so it's so much fun to watch the joy of opening those presents and seeing, the excitement they have about that day. And, I love it.
One quick announcement.
Uh-huh.
I panhandled my butt off a while ago about the 200th subscriber. Tommy Robbins.
Tommy got in.
Tommy Robbins, thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you and yours. You are our 200th subscriber. That'll get that plus $1.15 will get you a cup of coffee.
Oh no, we gotta get him something. I don't know what. We gotta get him something.
Okay, well, we'll work on that.
All right. We got to get him something.
Yeah, we got to do something. Our 200, man, do you remember when it was like 3 subscribers, 7 subscribers?
Yeah, and most of them were family members. Yes, I do. So
I can remember those pre-production meetings go like, man, how much longer are we going to be able to do this?
Just keep going. So keep moving forward.
That's
all right,
right,
guys, and we have been moving forward more and more. So let's let's wrap it up before we're in a 2-hour show unofficially. All right. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.